You're watching Pyro Media Network.
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Every strong woman I know has been told she's too much, too loud, too opinionated, too direct. But let's be honest, too much is usually code for you're not easy to ignore or manipulate. Welcome back to Tammy's Take. Let's start the show. Now, from the time that I was little, I have been told I am too much. I am the kid that got told on every report card. And when I say every, this is not an exaggeration. I'm not being hyperbolic. Every single report card that ever came home to my parents said, Tammy's really smart. She talks too much. So from the time that I was small, I was always being told that something was too much about me. And yet here I am, where talking is how I make my living. Talking is how I amassed more than 100,000 people on TikTok to listen to me. And I am hoping my talking amasses the same for Tammy's Takes. So when somebody says you're too much, it is never really about you. It's about their capacity to engage with you. Me talking a lot is not an indictment on me. Maybe the indictment is you don't have the ability to listen, or the people around you don't have the ability to listen. You're too much. You expect too much. You want too much. You ask for too much. You demand too much. Too much is not about me. It's not about you. It is about them. And I wanted to talk about being too much because I had a situation pop up today. And I was saying to my producer earlier, I'm like, oh, I'm really tired. I hope you don't see how tired I am. And then we started kind of like talking about what the show was going to be and what was going to happen on the show. And all of a sudden, all of my energy came back. Why? Because I wanted to talk about this idea of too much. I am in a workplace environment. And when you're in a workplace environment, your first and last name is on your emails. Your first and last name is on your Teams. It's on your Slack. So however you communicate, right? People have your first and last name. And the thing about being too much is when you hold presence in your body, you could say nothing. And your mere presence in a room can let the other people know there's something different. There's something special. There's something about that person, right? And that can be read one of two ways, right? The people in the room can recognize that there's something about that girl. There's something about that guy. There's something about that woman. There's something about you, right? Maybe your mere energy, your mere presence is too much, but there's something about you that draws people to you. So they're seeing you, but now they have your first and your last name, right? Now, I'm the kind of person, I don't Google anybody. I'm just not that interested in people. Now, I understand Googling somebody for the purpose of you going on a date, especially for women, right? And men, because, men can encounter violence too. Men can be set up on dates by women. Women we know have unfortunately not made it back home safe from dates, right? We're not even going to get into queer people, right? And navigating dating for queer people. So I understand in romantic settings why one would want to peruse the Google about somebody that they're going on a date with, or peruse the Google about somebody that they have been talking to, engaging with romantically. I get that. However, it will always be strange to me. Now, some people watching this may be like, now you're doing too much. And if I'm doing too much, I'm okay. Like I said, they've been telling me too much from the time that I could speak and sit in a classroom and learn. So if you think this is too much, that's okay. But outside of that context of wanting to make sure that the person you are engaging with in a romantic way is safe for you, I do think it is wildly inappropriate to be Googling your coworkers. Because, in the words of Cardi B, what is the reason? What is the reason that you and I work in a workplace? I'm not interested in you romantically, and hopefully you're not interested in me romantically. What is the reason to be Googling me when we clock out of work? Now, again, I'm in a workplace setting, and I try to keep workplace. I try to keep what happens at work and my work life very separate from my life on social media, my life outside of the workplace, especially if you and I are not trying to be friends or build a friendship. And I find it incredibly weird and odd that if you do meet somebody at work that you want to build a friendship with, that you would start that off by Googling them. I am of the belief that if I'm trying to build a friendship with you, I think I should give you the respect and the right for you to decide how much or how little you want me to know about you based on what you choose to share with me. Because who somebody is on social media is a different person than they are at work. It's a different person than they even are with their friends. Those of you who know me from TikTok and have been following me on my social media platforms know that one of my very, very good friends and somebody that I love deeply and love, right? Like, he's not here in the physical, but he's always very present. Somebody that I love passed. And we used to have this thing. He used to get so mad at me because I didn't share him on TikTok. And he knew I had a pretty big following on TikTok. And he would say, well, I guess I'm not good enough for your TikTok. She never puts me on TikTok. And it had nothing to do with that. My relationship with him was so deeply personal and so deeply private. It was not for TikTok consumption. It was not for social media consumption. What our friendship was an intimate relationship of heart and love. And I did not want our relationship online. I didn't want it exploited online at all. I didn't want anybody to have the ability to come into that friendship in any way other than the ways that I chose to let them in. And so I let them in so much that I would have stories about him. I would talk about him. I would say I'm going out with my Lily, or I'm going to a drag show with my Lily, or I'm going out with my Lily, but I never gave him. Giving him over to social media felt like a violation of, one, his privacy. Not that he cared about that, but it felt like a violation of our very intimate friendship. And so I could share as much as I wanted to or did not want. Because the thing about that is, if I post my Lily and somebody said something not nice, it was not going to be nice. And so I never put myself in the position to have to defend my friend online. And so I treated that friendship with a level of reverence, a level of care, and a level of respect. And so I was always cognizant to make these worlds connect. TikTok Tammy, there's no longer Facebook Tammy, but TikTok Tammy, Instagram Tammy, to some degree, even YouTube, Tammy, is very different than when I'm in the privacy and intimacy of friends. What I share with my friends will probably never make it on TikTok. And some of the fun that I have on TikTok, I probably will never bring into my friendship groups. And not because I can't have fun with my friends, but we all have friends. There's certain things that you can do with your friends that's fun for you to engage that they wouldn't find funny online. And so when this person said that they saw me on one of the talks that I had done, immediately I thought, I didn't randomly pop up. I didn't randomly pop up on your feed. There's just no way. There's just no way. I know that I didn't randomly pop up. So I believe that you Googled me. And so I responded and I said, I don't Google people, especially people that I am trying to build friendships with, because I would rather get to know you organically. And I'd rather you get to know me organically. Now, again, for some people, that may be doing too much. And that's okay. I'm okay if you think that's doing too much. But I do think if you're trying to build friendships and relationships, you should allow the other person on the other side of that potential friendship or relationship to share with you as much or as little as they choose to share. And I think when you Google people and you start going on their social medias and you start watching videos of them, reading comments, getting other people's perspective of them, truly engage with getting to know the version of them that's going to show up for you. I have friends, and each of my friends get a different version of me based on the relationships that we have with one another. And so when you go Googling people and you don't give them the opportunity to show you who they are, to learn about who they are, to be who they're going to be with you, I think you rob them of that. And if I am building a friendship with somebody or trying to build a friendship with somebody, and at some point in that they say they Google me, I'm not interested anymore. Because I don't do that to people. I don't Google people. I let people share as much or as little as they choose to in their own timing. Because another thing about that is when you go on people's social media, you can get a sense of familiarity about these people that may not exist between you two. So if you go on my social media and you hear me talking about my kids, or you hear me talking about the breakup of my marriage, or you hear me talking about my work, or you hear me talking about my clients, you can walk away thinking you have an idea or a deeper understanding of who I am that may not be true. Because ultimately, I get to share as much or as little about my life as I choose in the way that everybody does on social media. So you're watching videos of me. Maybe you're watching a 2 to 3 minute video, and you can come into that friendship thinking you know more about me than you really do. You can come into that friendship thinking you completely understand my temperament and may not get it at all. As far as you know, the version of me that you have been watching on social media is a version that I curated. I could have curated that whole personality. And now you come into this friendship engaging with me as if you know me. And now we have disagreements, and now we have falling out because you're thinking you're more familiar with me than you actually may be. And that's why I think if you're going to build friendship with people, right? Because in this day and age, everybody's Googleable, right? Like we all can be Googled. But I really do think if you're going to try to build a relationship or friendship with people, you should give them the respect and the courtesy to share with you parts of themselves in their time when they choose to do that, how little or how much they want to share about you. You may know that my mother died, but you may not know the deep feeling and emotions I feel about that death and how I carry that death with me every day. You may never be able to understand how that death shows up in friendship and relationship with you, because how would you know that? How would you know that? All you know is that you saw me online and I told you that my mother died. All you know is that you saw me online and I told you that one of my best friends has passed. All you know is I told you that I have adult children, that I may have a complex relationship, but you have no idea how those moments in my life is going to impact me in relationship with you. And so if you think you know how that is going to impact me in relationship with you, you can come into that friendship with me thinking you know more than you actually do. Social media gives a glimpse into people's lives. Sometimes people tend to share and overshare. If you follow me on any of my social media platforms, I try to keep a lot of what I do online pretty relative to my work, relative to the work that I do around empathy, whether I'm talking to you about my book, The Empathy Gap It Is Black and White, and how we show up in the world relative to empathy, whether I'm talking to you about my empathy scorecards, about why you need to download them, why you need to do them, right? Whether I'm talking about race from a sociological perspective, right? Like how sociology and conditioning and race and gender and a lot of what you see on social media about me is relative to my work. It doesn't really get to the heart of who I am. But if you think you have an idea based on the topics I cover, you're going to come into that relationship with me being a lot more familiar than you should be, thinking you know more than you do. And so I was saying that to my producer, and he's like, yeah, I get it. But I was saying that to somebody else, and they go, I get it, but I think that's too much. And it made me think, okay, so I was going to be doing a show tonight anyway on the myth of being too much. And I was like, well, let's talk about that. Because when you set boundaries around your life, when you set boundaries for how you will engage, when you set boundaries for how people or how you expect people to treat you, speak to you, love you, care for you, nurture you, work with you, manage you. Yes, that includes managers and directors. I have an expectation for how my managers, my directors, and people who I report up to, I have an expectation for how they should engage with me. Now, if you're of the school that, that's your boss, that's your job, people, you need them. No. Me working for you and you managing me is a collaborative effort. I need the paycheck in order to take care of myself, and you need my labor in order for this machine to run. And not just my labor, but all of our labors. And that's how I view workplaces. That's how I view contract engagement. That's how I view consults. That's how I view work, period. I don't view work as a one-sided exchange that I am at the behest of you and you owe me nothing. No, you owe me courtesy, you owe me respect, you owe me kindness. And again, that may be too much for some people, and I'm okay. And there's going to be some version of you, some boundary that you've put in place that somebody's going to be like, that's just too much. That she's just doing too much. That's a lot happening. And here's the thing, when people encounter you, especially if you have boundaries, especially if you have, parameters that you require people to stay within, those people are going to find reasons why they don't like you. And the first thing is, oh my gosh, she's too much. They can't, I just can't handle her intensity. Oh my gosh, she just requires too much. She expects too much. That too much is not about you. A lot of times the too much is about what the other person on the other side of that conversation, what they will accept for themselves. So if they will allow people to trespass them, they think you should allow them to trespass you. If they will allow people to speak to them any kind of way, they think they should be allowed to speak to you any kind of way. Why? Because people get to speak to them any kind of way. So why can't they speak to you any kind of way? What do you mean? I need to call over even if I'm in your neighborhood. That's another thing. Listen, I have been the friend. If you do not call me to let me, and I don't care that you're in the neighborhood. I don't give two dams about it. If you don't call me and say, hey, I'm in your neighborhood, do you feel up for company? And allow me to say, I really don't. I am in my bed or I'm on my couch and I am just vegging today. I don't have social battery for anybody, not even this phone conversation. If you don't give me the courtesy of that, and all of a sudden I'm on my couch, my window's open, I'm enjoying the sunlight, the breeze, and all of a sudden I see you walk up to my door and you're smiling at me in the window, I have absolutely been the person to stay on the couch and let you knock on the door. And you can see me and I can see you. Like I don't do one of those things where people run and they get to hiding because they don't want you to see. And the reason why I do that, because every person in my life that's a friend of mine know that's my rule. They know that that's a boundary with me. Just call before you come over. Hell, I may be walking around, tits out, panties on. Right? Because I'm just enjoying being in my house. Or I am in the throes of doing a deep cleaning. And you know how that, you know what happens with the deep cleaning. Your house looks a mess before I can pull it all together. Like when I'm in my bedroom and I clean, this room looks like a tornado hits it. Because I'm taking the sheets off the bed. I'm washing. I'm sorting. I'm organizing. I'm doing all kind of things. And I'm in my zone. That's another thing. When I clean, I get into a zone. I get into my own zone of cleaning. So here I am in my zone, and all of a sudden you're at my door. And now I must readjust my day because you decided this is what you're going to, although you know I don't like unexpected visitors. Now, if I'm sitting on my couch and you can see me and I can see you, now some people may say that's too much. You're just doing too much. In fact, I'm not doing enough because I should open the door and let my pit bull help you to your car. Right? And so I'm okay if people said that it's too much. What is the too much that people are saying to you? What is your too much? What is your too much? And have you bought into the idea that you are too much? And are you the kid? Were you me? Were you me? Were you the little girl who had smart, brilliant, great, talks too much? Were you the person in the meetings at work where people went, oh my God, like, I hope she doesn't talk because we're trying to get out of this meeting. And here she is. She's going to do too much. Were you the person in the friend group that required people to behave in a way that honored who you were, but more importantly, honored who they are in the world? And they went, girl, ain't nobody trying to be that all the time. Ain't nobody trying to do that all the time. What version of yourself that you have been told is too much that you just decided, I'm not going to be that version? Because I promise you, you need to be that version. You need to be that version. You ever hear that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats? When you hold on to your standard, you know what you do? You force the people around you to hold on to theirs. The thing that people say is too much, you ever notice all of a sudden it ain't too much because now they're operating that way? It ain't too much because all of a sudden that's their new rule too. It ain't too much because all of a sudden that's how they dress too. All of a sudden that's the kind of car they want now. Because usually the too much isn't about you. It's always about them. And sometimes that too much is about jealousy and envy of you. You know the saying, you hate me because you can't be me? That's a lot of people. A lot of the too much is, you hate me because you can't be me. We're going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about how you can fight against this idea that you are too much, so that wherever you go in the world, you are always too much for the people who don't want to be enough. I'll see you after the commercial break.
What's going on, y'all? It's Kwame Speaks from Kwame Speaks Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
Welcome back to the show. Okay. All right. So we talked in the first half of the show about why people may think that you're too much and why you can't be who you are in the space with people who decided that they can't be who they are. Because really that's what it comes down to as well, right? Like when people have decided that I can't be who I want to be in the world. And so if I can't be who I want to be, how dare you? How dare you? And so here are some of the ways that you show up in the world that if people say that you're too much, you're just going to have to be. The first thing you have to do is not shrink yourself. This is not the moment to shrink. This is not the moment to apologize. Apologizing for who you are is about conceding ground to people who refuse to rise to the occasion of who you are. So that's the first thing you have to do. You have to stop shrinking yourself to be in rooms that cannot hold you, that cannot hold your brilliance, that cannot hold your softness, that cannot hold your intelligence, that cannot hold your fashion, that cannot hold your body. Stop shrinking in these rooms. They're not designed to hold you. Leave the space. So that's the first thing I want you to do. Stop shrinking yourself. Stop shrinking yourself. You're too big for those rooms. You're too big for those relationships. You're too big for those people. Be too much. Everywhere you go, be too much. Stop softening your edges. That's the second thing I want you to do. Stop softening your edges. Your edge is what makes you you. Your edge is a part of your charm. Your edge is what draws people to you. Stop softening that. Because the people who can't be who they are is witnessing your edges and witnessing the magnetism of your edges. And because they're uncomfortable with seeing it, because they're uncomfortable with other people being gravitating to it, experiencing it, they want you to soften it. And so they convince you that it's too much. You don't want that attention. You don't want people coming up to you all the time. You don't need that all the time. You stop softening your edges. Don't we love edgy people, right? Like when you think about fashion, when you think about the people we like the people with a bit of edge to them. Do you know why? Because those people are interesting to us. You're interesting. You're interesting. Stop softening your edges. Stop quieting your voice. Stop quieting your voice. Every time you quiet your voice, the person who needs to hear it didn't hear it that day. The person that's waiting on you to help them see themselves, to help them believe in themselves, to help them change their lives, they're waiting on your voice. And because you have been told, you have convinced yourself you're just too much, you're quieting your voice. Every single person, it is my belief, every single person has a voice and has something valuable to say. You may not have something valuable to say every time you open your mouth, but if you get people to get you to believe that you're too much, I've seen people walk into rooms and their energy, I literally could feel them trying to shift, trying to quiet their energy, right? Because there's something big about them. There's something big about them. I've seen people quiet their voice in the meetings. Try not to be too obvious. Try not to be too loud. Try not to ask too many questions. Try not to be pegged, because this is another thing with quieting our voice, especially if you look like me in corporate spaces. We have been socially conditioned to not step on people's toes, to not put the spotlight on us, to not make ourselves too known in the space. And respectfully, because we're gonna call a thing over here. Some of my advice, my professional advice, have been to Black women that listen in certain situations, certain circumstances, play dumb. Now, playing dumb is not the same as quieting your voice. Well, how's that not the same thing? Because in some rooms, playing dumb allows you to observe where you are, when to speak, how much to speak. So sometimes you have to go into a room and play dumb. It's very different than quieting your voice, because when you're playing dumb, hopefully, a lot of you are observing your space. You're paying attention to the energy in this space. You're paying attention to the players in this space. You're paying attention to the shakers and the movers in this space, so that when you do have to use your voice, you don't quiet it. But a lot of us have quieted our voice because we don't want people to think we know too much. We don't want people to think we talk too much. We don't want people to think we are the shit. Respectfully, some of us are the shit. Respectfully, you are the shit. You should be the shit in your own life. If you're not the shit to you, who? If I'm not like, let me tell you about me, okay? This is another version of Tammy's Too Much. I think I'm the flyest girl I know. And do. I think I'm one of the prettiest women I know. And do. I think I'm one of the smartest women I know. And do. I think I'm one of the kindest women I know. And do. I think I'm one of the most selfish women I know. And I am. I used to be afraid of admitting that I was selfish, because we live in a culture that tells you you should not be selfish. And people that tell you you should not be selfish are the people who are trying to manipulate you and abuse you. Sometimes you have to be selfish. And I think I'm a pretty selfish person. I also think I'm a giving person. I am a contradiction. Just like you are a contradiction. We all are a contradiction. But even in being a contradiction, I'm always going to be too much. I'm always going to be doing too much. I'm always going to be saying too much. I'm never going to be the person in the room watching things happen without my participation. And whether that my participation is to stop the bad thing happening in the room, or to lend my voice to the good thing that's happening in the room. Now, we need all kinds to make the world go round. We need the introverts. We need the extroverts. Now, I'm a bit of an ambivert. I can be extroverted when need to, and I can be introverted when need to. I can be both. But what I am never not going to be is an advocate for myself. And when you are an advocate for yourself, the very act that you will not let people abuse you, you will not let people use you, you will not let people silence you, you will not let people quiet you, you will not let people dim your light. The very act of that can be interpreted as too much. And if that's how you show up in the world, if that's how you engage with the world, if that's how you live in the world, and for 90% of the people, it is too much, go hang out with the 10%. Go hang out with the 10%. Because I promise you, if you hang with the 10%, your spirit will be alive. Your soul will come alive. You will show up in the world the way you were supposed to show up in the world. Every day, in every way, I want you to be too much. I want you to be too much, so much that you make yourself sick. Now, I haven't gotten to that level of being too much where I've made myself sick, right? I'm not there yet. And it is my goal to be so much that I go, Tammy, girl, I'm sick of you. Like, girl, go to sleep. I don't even want to hear your voice. Like, don't talk no more, baby. Like, that's the level of too much I want to be in the world. I want to be too much when I see injustice happening. I want to be too much when I see cruelty. I want to be too much when I see racism. I want to be too much when I see sexism. I want to be too much when I see homophobia. I want to be too much for the people who need me to be small in order for those things to still exist. That's a trick they're not telling you. They need you to be small in order for those things to still exist. Why are you rocking the boat? Because racism is present here and I'm going to rock it. Why are you saying so much? Because homophobia is present here and I'm going to rock this boat. Why are you doing that? Because sexism is present and I'm going to be here to rock this boat. Because sometimes that too much is about keeping status quo. Why are you speaking up now? Why do you need to say something now? Why can't you just let it be? Why do you always? Because I'm too much. Because I'm too much. I got too much empathy to sit in a room and watch wrong all around me. I have too much empathy to be in a space and watch harm and pretend I don't see it. Too much. I'm going to be too much. I want you to be too much in the world. I want you to have too much. But the thing I want you to have too much of the most, I want you to have too much empathy. I want you to have too much empathy that you cannot be the person. You cannot, like, it's impossible. It's impossible to be in the room, to be in the space, to be in a job, to be in a neighborhood, to be in an organization, to be in a movement, and see other people harmed around you. I want you to have too much empathy to let that stand. And I think it's why I live my life in a space of too much. Because the thing that I have, I don't think you could ever have too much of it, right? I think you can have too much unregulated empathy. And I write about that in my book, The Empathy Gap. It is black and white. If you get the book, if you've read the book, you know, I talk about how we should have empathy for one another, but you will also learn how to regulate that empathy. And I help you further do that with the scorecards. Now, one of the things on my self-empathy scorecards, I talk about self-talk, intuition, so that my too much empathy is not unregulated, which means you can't drag me and pull me by the nose by my empathy. But I want you to be too much in the world. I want you to be too much wherever you go. But I want you to be too much, especially in the face of wrongdoing, in the face of prejudice, in the face of racism, in the face of homophobia, xenophobia, sexism. Always be too much. Be the loud one. Be the one that will say something. Be the one that will stand up. Being too much doesn't come without its, hazards. And one of the hazards is it may be you don't get invited to all the parties. Good. They're just saving you and your peace of mind, babe. Being the person who is too much may mean that you don't get invited to the exclusive clubs. You don't get invited to the dinner. Maybe you don't get invited to the girls' trip. That's never a reflection on me. Because sometimes when you are too much, you don't want to be in the room with people who decide that they just ain't going to be enough. The vibe ain't going to be the same. Sometimes that may be the price of it. But I would rather the price of me being too much, being too steadfast in my convictions, being too steadfast in my integrity, being too steadfast in my empathy, I would rather be too much and have it cost me relationships, opportunities, friendships, jobs. Because I don't want to be in relationship with people who can't be in relationship with the fullness of who I am. I have been very fortunate that life has brought me all of the friends, all of the clients, all of the work opportunities, all of the job opportunities that could hold the space of my too much. And so as I end the show tonight, I want to leave you with this. Don't dim the light just because someone else forgot their sunglasses. Your power was never the issue. Their tolerance for the truth of it was.
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.